Oh my gosh, I'm already at 21 minutes actually. Jeez. Let's look at spells first, okay? I didn't even think about that, so I gotta pull up a book. No, pull it up. Jeez. Okay, so let's look at your spells, and we won't make this a long choice. We are Mentalist. Here's the Magent right here, page 334 on the RMU spell law book. So here's our first base list: Assassination Mastery, where we get conceal objects, study patsies, open ambushes, improvised attacks, create evidence. Then Disguise Mastery, obviously this is about kind of an illusion of what you look like. Escapes, where you just get to get lock lore, generate lockpicking tools out of nowhere, ungag yourself, untie yourself, unbind yourself, pass through walls, teleports. Long door and leaving are essentially certain kinds of teleports. Silenced long door item 1. what's that one? So that's as silenced leave item 1. Okay. Caster quietly teleports a single inanimate object to a point up to 100 feet away from its current location. There can be no intervening barriers in a direct line between the target and that point. The object has the maximum weight limit, so basically you just move stuff. So like if you wanted to get a weapon through a customs check or through a check at a party, you could just boop, push it into, well, you couldn't push it in through a wall because it has to have no physical barriers, but possibly through an open door into a corner of a room. Like, there's some limitations here, obviously, but I'm just telling you what this is about. Gathering secrets. Misdirections. So this has some cloaking, some misleading, some unseeing, some false credentials. That's actually one thing I've never totally liked about Rolemaster, is all the creation-based spells. I almost feel like that's almost more like a, hey, you weren't prepared and I didn't make you work your other contacts. Here's spells for it. I don't know. It might just also be the way I look at my setting, that I don't want a bunch of creation out of magic. Poison Mastery. That's always a good one. And then that's it. So those are the base lists. So I'm thinking we're going to be interested in Misdirections, Poison Mastery, maybe Escapes and Disguise Mastery. Oh, I put those on the same line. Let's just think about those for now, but let's not just start there. Let's not just stop there, because you are a mentalist in general. Right? Like, that's what he is. So let's take a look at some of these open and closed lists and see if there's anything interesting here. Anticipations, anticipating attack, anticipated defense. I mean, this is kind of like a spidey sense sometimes. There's also attack avoidance. We're not going to do that. We don't want to brilliance and do a bunch of cloaking. It might be wonderful, but it might also not be needed because of escapes and disguise mastery and misdirections. Some damage resistance, some delving into items, some detections. This is essentially making things look like other things. Spell resistance. Not yet. Telekinesis, not yet. And then we got the closed mentalist list listed gas manipulation, Liquid manipulation, Mind's Door. See, Mind's Door might be more like the, what was it? I think it was part of Escapes, except that I think the Escapes is probably going to be better because it's a base list. Mind Mastery, Movement. See, now Movement might be nice. It's a little more generic than Escapes. So, whereas it might be... Oops, we're starting to break into this other thing here. Whereas it might be... I don't know. It might not give you as many specific interesting things. And self-healing, we'll say he'll pick that up later because he's still about the killing. Sense Mastery could be really nice. Right, I'm almost just brainstorming at this point, right? And this is frequently what I do, is I go through and I go, oh gosh, what would I like? Speed, that can be interesting, but if you got movements and cloaking and escapes, how much do you need spell? And then we get into the base list, so we're pretty much done with that. So, let's look at our costs. Because this is a base spell list. Base spells. Base spells. Base spells. Base spells. This is an open spell. As is cloaking. I think. Actually, let's go find. We might have found those in. So Sense Mastery is closed. And movement is closed. Where was cloaking? So cloaking was an open. And anticipations. Now we've got closed. So these are all spells that we're interested in. I'm gonna move this Prodigy talent down the ways. What are we down to? 145? Let's make sure this is counting all the way down. It's not. So, let's look at the cost. So this is all under... spell casting, which is realm plus memory. That's what all spell casting is. Realm plus memory. So that would be presence, memory for each one of them. In this case, that means our bonus is 3 and double of a 2, so that's 7 at this point. I wonder if I can do this. Will this mess up the Excel? No, it just won't do it. That's fine. Still easy enough. Now, oh, and what's the spell cost? What's the spell casting cost? For base open Magent, it's 3/4. So this is 3, this is 4, and that is true for all our base and all our open spell lists. Then our closed spell lists are 5, 7. Now we only have 20-some points. So maybe we want to do, I think opens are easier to cast, or was closed or easier to cast, I can't remember. There's a bonus for one of them. I think this is one of those times where we're going to say, oh, you know what, just like the other time, we didn't actually get into poisons, but I can see him starting to try to misdirect people's attention. I like the idea of developing a spidey sense. Getting around and maybe detecting stuff in the night and stuff like that. Those might be the most interesting to him. Unfortunately, we're also already at 72. Yikes. But let's just see what this does. What that means is, right, so we've gotten 1 rank in misdirections. That means he now has the, where's PDF? Misdirections. It means he has the false credential spells. The false credential spell. Because he has 1 rank in it. And he bought 1 in anticipations and movements and sense mastery. So we would go to those spell lists and see what else he picked up. If he bought 2 ranks, like if he bought 2 ranks in misdirections, like let's just say he did that. Let's get rid of sense mastery and anticipations because it's already getting expensive. But we've written down a lot of lists that we're interested in getting. Let's say he made 2 of those. Then he has false credentials and unseen. Which reminds me, we have forgotten an incredibly important skill. Because in Rolemaster Unified, you now have to develop your spell points, power development, just like body development. Alright, that doesn't want to wrap, so I'm just going to make it a little smaller. Now this is Realm, and Realm Constitution. So PR, CO. His presence is 2, so that's 4. And then Constitution -1, so there's 3. Power manipulation is a development cost of 3-5. So he's going to get a rank of that. What are some other things we wanted to do? We're at 71 points. This is a lot. I mean, and we started off with an extra 14. Now, granted, we did spend 12 boosting social awareness. Which, granted, maybe rather than spending those 10, we could have spent just 5. That's a possibility. We could have done that. Oh, but we also did buy a rank. So what we could do is say that we bought 2 ranks, and then down here only go for 1 prodigy. It's just that those are the only points we're ever going to get to spend, but really it doesn't pay in the end. I guess it's probably better to spend those on something that's going to get really expensive. So we'll also just edit that stat right there. Prodigy 1. So we just bought ourselves a couple of hit points. There's a couple other things we want to look at. So we've looked at spell lists. So the other guy, if he rolled well enough, got 10 spells. He could only cast 1 of the 10 spells in the first place if he didn't have equipment. This guy's going to be able to cast every spell that he has, and he's going to have like 4 or 5 spells. Maneuverance, Armor, and Adrenal Move Quick Draw. So let's take a look at those 2 ideas. I'll just copy those over. So let's look at those 2 ideas. Where do those ideas exist, if at all, in Rolemaster Unified? So we have his battle expertise and combat expertise and magical expertise. These 3 categories just work off penalties. So in battle expertise, we have maneuvering in armor, which doesn't have to be specified. So they added battle expertise. They just had combat expertise before, so I don't know necessarily where they're going to go with it. You'll also notice that they carry no stat bonuses. The expertises don't carry stat bonuses. Its development cost is battle expertise 3/5 for a magent. RMU may be different in a lot of the ways that it did things compared to RM2 as far as like the balance of skills and stuff like that. But a semi is still a semi, and those second ranks can be expensive. Not because we're not looking at like 2/7s. It's just you also have more skills. Somehow you end up having more skills to buy while you have less skills total. Like there's less skills in the system, but it feels like you have more to buy. It's kind of confusing. I mean, that's how it feels to me. I'm making a feeling statement. An adrenal move, quick draw. So where can you do things? Where can you do something like pull out your sword fast? I'm not sure. Actually, I do think that's in here. Yes. It's under body discipline, adrenal speed. Which is a constitution, self-discipline, quickness. I've already forgotten what I just said. That's horrible. Constitution, self-discipline. Okay, constitution, self-discipline, and then quickness because the adrenals change a lot. I think that was probably one of the things that people were complaining about. So -1, 1, 8. And the cost of body disciplines is 4, 6. They're not really about doing that. At that point, what I would say is looking at the spell lists and just thinking about it. We've got things like anticipations. Anticipations might, and you might want to do some of the research if you really felt strongly about this decision. You might look at anticipations to see if it does or doesn't allow you to do quick drawing, and maybe put off the idea of quick drawing. Because Rolemaster Unified has an action point economy for the round. So basically what making a successful adrenal speed roll does is give you more action points. So if you've got a 2-point action, it happens sooner in the round, than everybody else's, because you basically start down from everyone's total number of action points that they're at and how many they're spending, and shifted also by their initiative roll, blah 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 blah. So we have 6 points to go. So we can definitely buy a rank of maneuver and armor, and then we have 3 more points. Is there a 3-pointer that we skipped? All the spells that we didn't get, and ambush. Well, ambush is a 2-pointer, so that would leave us with something. Trading, the second rank of trading would be a 3-pointer. Acting would be a 3-pointer. We already picked up those. The leather crafting, I don't really want to do that. Math. The influence is a 2-pointer again. That's unfortunate. The creature and this is something you'll see. It's going to take a dedicated character like either pure arms or pure caster to get something that develops at 1. I don't think this Magent has anything that is a 1 on the first rank. Nope. Like if we look at all the semi-casters. Okay, the Ranger has 1 on animal and awareness. Oh, and environmental and movement. Wow. Okay, they do have a procedure that they do to balance these things. So if you've got 1s somewhere, then you're probably going to have a lot more higher costs. The monk has a 1 in movement. The bard has a 1 in lore and performance art. No surprise there. The Dabbler has 1 in awareness. But I mean, let's just look at a fighter, right? Battle expertise, brawn, combat, 2 weapons, right? I mean, I guess that wasn't a whole lot more than the ranger, actually. If we look at the magician, we've got a delving, a lore, a magical expertise, a base opens, rituals, you know. And I bet you the hybrids don't have too many either. The healer has 1 on brawn, 1 on medical, 1 on base. Actually, all the hybrids have 1 on base open. The Mystic and Sorcerer, gosh, let's see, the Sorcerer has a 1 on delving and a 1 on magical expertise, but the Mystic is pretty much done with 1s at that point. So I'm saying that because what I'm saying is, like, we've got 3 points left and we've got some interesting 2-pointers, but we have nowhere to sink that last point. I mean, that's probably a really complicated and in-depth mechanics discussion about, you know, how you would do that. Also, when I make this a personal spreadsheet for my players, I usually put languages at the bottom so that they don't take up so much of the top space. So I think we're going to end up going with, say, another spell. For those last 3 points. So let's... Is it cloaking? Are we going to do cloaking? Are we going to do sense mastery? I think we already took off sense mastery. Are we going to do anticipations or escapes? Let's do anticipations. Let's do a spidey sense. Because we has this kind of like on the street kind of appeal going on with him. So I think that's probably good. 74 points. I know this is super long, but we're going to... I'm not going to do it. The ranks work the same as the other one. 5 per rank, the same as RM2 until a certain point where they start dropping off in efficiency. So the next video, we're going to be rounding out this character and pointing out that we still have to do equipment, but we're not going to. Okay? See you later.